Hey guys, what are we talking about today?
50!
50!
50!
I'm not that old.
Wait, what are you talking about?
It's a 50th episode!
Oh, right. I thought it was about my birthday.
I mean, who cares about that?
Yeah, who cares?
Welcome to the 50th episode of the Music Arcade!
Okay, you said that for so long that might take up the entire intro music build-up, and that's amazing.
Perfect.
Well done.
It's kind of hilarious.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 50th episode of Music Arcade. I'm Gale of the Sound Guy Firestone.
I'm Wanacle, still kicking.
And I'm Eddie, and as the writer for the intro, I want to say happy birthday, Galen.
Thank you.
Yeah, good birthday.
Between last episode and this one, I turned to the big 4-0. So I'm old.
Just 10 years off of the episode number.
Right?
Gotta cross that cap pretty soon myself. Well, relatively speaking, I suppose.
You got a few years left. You're like 37,
Yeah.
I think?
Yeah. I was going to say I think so too, but yes.
Sometimes I have trouble remembering myself.
At some point, you have a 2 years margin of error.
That's fair.
Fair.
But that age is the perfect age, as it turns out, to have a kind of global vision of the video games from the start and the popularization to now, which I think is part of how we are still very enthusiastic 50 episodes in.
Yeah.
See how I brought it back?
You did. I was going to talk about this.
Proud of myself.
I'm still going to talk about this, actually. Yeah, by this point in Gathering of Gotcha's life cycle, I was feeling some serious burnout. I was just done with the topic. I was done with the games. That is not the case here at all. If anything, we've been doing some of our best work lately.
Yeah, I think we just keep improving, to be honest.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
I wouldn't say I necessarily cringe at our early stuff, but I was checking our episode list on Spotify the other day, and I was looking at the old stuff, and I was going, man, we got so much better.
We did, and that's good. Like, we're growing into it. We're not, like, resting on our laurels, and I appreciate that.
I was having a bit of a doubt when you said at this point in Gathering of Gotcha's life cycle, because I wasn't 100% certain we went past the 50, but no, we still have 13 episodes to go before we outnumber the previous podcast.
I'm fine with that.
This will be the podcast that outlives the podcast that outlived the things it talked about.
Exactly.
So yeah, for this celebratory episode, we thought we'd put together a thing about celebration music. And we have some very interesting picks this week. Some fairly obvious ones, and I'm kind of responsible for a chunk of those, but also some real wild ones.
With some obvious considerations, like one of the first that came to my mind was the Rufus welcoming parade in Juno in FF7.
I considered that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good one, but as I thought about the topic a little bit more, I was like, maybe there are some interesting and kind of less straightforward ways to celebrate, and I think we have a pretty great selection, honestly.
I do too. There's one selection that I picked that I don't want to say I regret picking, but it wasn't even remotely my first choice. Actually, that's true of two of the songs out here that I'm thinking about it. But I feel like I have important things to say about them both anyway. In a weird way...
Having things to say is pretty cool.
Having things to say is pretty cool. But let's talk about,
Yes, how about... we mentioned surprising picks. How about a game that we didn't expect one of our members to talk about?
Yeah, Eddie.
Never. Destiny who? I don't know.
Yeah,
honestly,
is that the spin-off of Marathon?
Oh god. I think that one's called Halo.
Technically correct.
Oh god. Okay.
And I would complain about the fact that this doesn't fit the timeline, but this is Marathon we're talking about. The notion of a timeline and these games are not in the same universe anyway.
Oh yeah, this might get in the cutting room floor for the episode, but I saw the announcement for the new Marathon. I decided to look into the lore and I went, oh god, I need to play this. So I downloaded all 3 games since they're open source.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a Bungie gave the code open source, and some fans made a new release called LF1 for modern systems.
Yes.
So, not this week, but next time, the now playing section might contain Marathon from me.
I'm actually
Sweet.
looking forward to that.
But going back to the music for today,
The what?
I think the one thing that's surprising about me picking Destiny is that I almost didn't pick Destiny for today.
Oh wow, I was going to call you out, but you're calling yourself out. You replaced Club Hula for this? You deprived me of all sorts of John Wick references for this? We talked about this already. You brought this song out before.
Yeah, but that was on No Playing, not on the main episode, and I don't like that mix of Club Hula, and it was annoying the hell out of me.
I
love
understand.
how,
I'm mostly
your tone
teasing.
is getting increasingly like, I don't have a problem, you have a problem.
I'm teasing.
it's
I don't
our-
actually mean this. This is a
Of
good
course,
song.
Of course. Yes.
It's our 50th episode. It would be weird for us to not have a couples argument.
Ha.
Although, while it is indeed a very good song, it feels a bit more like preparation than success. Like there's still a bit of tension for things to come, as its tone feels like it fits better somewhere between a Fire Emblem pre-map menu and an XCOM last-minute inventory adjustment, you know?
It's a bit of both, I think, in how it's used as well in the game. Because it's not really, well, just so our listeners know what
And
we're talking
by the
about.
way,
it's
it is
the-
battle ready from Destiny
Exactly.
2. Yes.
Yeah. From the Lightfall expansion.
It seems we had the brainwave at the same moment.
Yeah, pretty much. We both realized we were talking about the music without mentioning the title, but anyway.
Wow, it's like we're learning from past episode mistakes.
Whoops.
Wow.
But if I recall correctly, it plays more or less at the 2/3, maybe 3/4 mark of the actual plot of the expansion, and it's more like you've overcome a big hurdle in the plot, which was controlling a new power. Which
Right.
Every time the character tried to control it, they would just fall exhausted right at a crucial moment. And so now the character manages to control that, so they are ready to take on the next challenge. And this track pretty much just plays as a kind of a victory lap, because you're finishing your training and you're just mowing down some robots in a virtual environment.
Yeah.
And
As one
like
does.
like I said on my actual notes, it's like you're in an 80s movie and you're about to turn the tides. So it's a celebration of overcoming that hurdle in the middle of the conflict.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Okay. Justification acceptable.
And as an aside, we were talking about how this episode would be a return of the Dudes, and this song
Yep.
wants you to know that the Dude is indeed incoming.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking through my list. I don't think I have any dude in here.
I do.
You do.
I think you have either Chrono Trigger. I think that version has some Dudes at the end.
Yeah, there's a little in there. There's a little there. You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But what doesn't have any dude, if you want to move on to the next track?
Already?
I
We're
was just
still
gonna-
talking about this one.
yeah, I was just gonna give some extra
I
thought.
heard a silence, so I was ready to jump on it.
I was
That's-
Please
okay.
continue then.
But yeah, I think there's a good reason why Battle Ready is kind of the most iconic song in the Lightfall soundtrack. And there are some YouTubers that like to start their videos with some singer from the expansion soundtrack. And every time I've seen that for Lightfall, it has been this song. And it's just really fun.
Yeah, that checks out. It
It's-
sounds like it'd be really good as a video introduction or
Yeah.
closing card.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very iconic song. It's one of those songs that I, like, the second I played it, I was able to recognize it, which I cannot usually say about Destiny music. I find it to be a lot more subtle and atmospheric and doesn't really stick in my memory all that well. But this one definitely caused a reaction there. The intro especially. I like the guitar work through this. I think that doesn't get talked about enough.
Oh yeah, it's kind of subtle. It's more of a backing instrument.
Yeah, but
With-
it's technically very apt.
Yeah, it's some great work. And let me just double check the composers real quick, just a sec, because they have 6 composers for
Yeah.
the soundtrack.
I feel like we had this exact same interaction the last time we brought it up, where we had to pause and you check for the composer. This feels really deja vu right now.
I don't think it wasn't for this track. I think it was for another one. But yeah, chime back in.
For episode 50 to 100, we're just going to talk about the same music 50 times.
Oh God. But yeah, it's I'm not sure which of the 4 composers has was the one responsible for the guitars here. But I know that I've mentioned this before. Michael Salvatori, he was the composer for Halo. Last time I brought him up was during our follow-up to the April Fool's episode for this year, where I mentioned that he was still the composer, one of the main composers for Destiny during the Beyond Light expansion. And now it's 2 expansions later, and he's still one of the main composers. So again, shout outs to a company who seems, at least from an outside perspective, to really respect their composers and really respect the talent they have.
Which I appreciate. We live in a time where
Yeah.
that is increasingly rare.
And as such, deserves mention.
Absolutely.
Sadly rare, I would say.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's really nice to see Salvatore still going strong with Bungie,
100%.
all the way back from Halo 1.
100%.
So, kudos. And kudos for, if not being the main one, at least being one of the 4 people responsible for bringing up this solid, very hype track.
So my pick is from one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I don't think it's a hot take to say Nier Automata is incredibly well regarded. I'm not going to bother spoiling, or not going to bother leading up to that. I picked a Nier
How dare
Automata
you.
track. How shocking.
It's a good video game.
It's
with
a very
good music.
It's a very good video game with very good music. A couple of my favorite tracks, a couple of my favorite video game tracks of all time come from this game. This song in particular pisses me off. And it's no fault of the song itself, because the song is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk. I do want to talk about the song because it is, in a way, about a carnival and a fair, which is weirdly a recurring theme with my music. I was not expecting that.
Now you say it.
Yeah, but my reason for keeping it on the list, this would have been a quick cut actually, just because of my initial list and what I was planning on doing.
Mm-hmm.
Until I discovered that, so. Here's a fun fact. This particular version of the song, the medium dynamic version, does not appear on any official source or soundtrack. Only in the game itself. So that's the lead up. So the main soundtrack has a mishmash of several different versions, but this full version never actually appears at any point. It just ducks in the vocals or ducks out the vocals or ducks in everything else. You get like 8 bars of it, I think, instead of the whole song in the official soundtrack version. None of the mixes, outside of this, none of the orchestral mixes or anything else feature a version of this. None of the concert versions feature a version of this. And Square hates that it's online. They take this one down with a vengeance. And that's starting to really make me angry.
Yeah, I'm reminded of our episode I think it was around the time of the Olympics where we talked about music distribution.
Uh-huh.
And Square is still not good on that front.
Not great on this. Now, on the one
and
hand... Sorry.
I would understand at least if it was a music someone could listen to by buying something Square offers. This isn't the case.
Yeah, I understand aggressively protecting your copyright. What I don't understand is giving us no access to this version of the song at all, except in the video game itself. Which, if I wanted to listen to this in the video game, I basically have to park my ass at the jukebox.
Yeah.
If I want to listen to it without sound effects. Or play with the sound settings until it cooperates. I am very annoyed by this because I'm increasingly, like, a proponent of giving us access to art and saying that things probably should be in the public domain. And this has come up with live service games a lot. Like, a lot of live service games have been ending this last few years. And we no longer have access to the ability to play them. So every time someone comes up with a plan B, like, I know one game is talking about personal servers. I know another game, like, here, you can have the single-player version of the entire game. Go for it. Enjoy. But most people just shut down the game and never think about it again, which I think is a grave disservice to the preservation of art.
Yeah, and if I want to listen to that version of the music in the game, I am not reinstalling 43.63 gigabytes in order to just have a listen and be like, yeah, that was fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm very angry at Square for this copyright malarkey. I don't like it. It bothers me. And I want to call that out because this song, in and of itself, is worth celebrating. Because, let's be honest, Keiichi Okabe made kind of a pair of miracle soundtracks with the two Nier games. There is nothing else like this.
Also, I like to think that this celebratory episode is kind of giving it to us, calling out things like that, and but it's fine to mention that part of what makes Music Arcade is also the part where we are raging at terrible practices.
Yeah. I like to think at our core we're an educational show, and that doesn't just mean being educational about the positives.
Yeah, exactly.
We try to be funny, but we try to be informational as well.
Yeah. This is a case where I honestly believe Square is being overly aggressive protecting their copyright, and they are not giving us access to art, and I'm offended by this.
They sound almost on a Nintendo level on that one.
Yeah, they're not that bad. Like, Nintendo is the devil, but, like, they're at least a greater demon. Square does a lot of good. This is not one of those times
a lot of
at all.
Not good.
Yes, that is correct.
When it comes to their music
very up
releases,
and down.
Yeah,
when it comes to their music releases, they are the most mixed bag of mixed bags.
They are. They are.
Here is Final Fantasy XVI, which looks very great, and here is Foam Stars.
You know what?
Thanks, Square Enix.
If Square's gonna rip off anything, it's kind of cool they're ripping off Splatoon. I'm actually kind of down with this.
Who asked for this?
Nobody, but I think that may actually be a thing. I'd love to see what Square's answer to Splatoon is.
Maybe it will be very good, and maybe it will last about as long as Babylon's Fall.
I was rooting for Babylon's Fall, more for Platinum's sake. That, you know what? This is going really off topic now.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so that was all I needed to say on this. Let's talk about another game that apparently is having copyright issues.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet,
I just wanted to say about the amusement park theme itself that I appreciate the mix of celebration of this carnival-like theme, but also with this air of mystery, right down from the hook, which carries with it the strangeness of the situation of having the mooks and the opponents so far start in a position where they won't attack you if you attack them first.
Mm-hmm.
That they have some weird form of society that appears to be show in itself, and it's not easy to mix mystery and party time, but somehow this worked.
Yeah.
And not only that, this worked in a way that isn't what you'd expect when you think creepy carnival.
No. And this was also another reason to celebrate for me personally. One of the big selling points of the Nier soundtrack, the original Nier Gestalt Replicant soundtrack, was the presence of singer Emiko Rebecca Emmy Evans throughout that soundtrack. And I'd read an article prior to this that said she wasn't actually available for this game. And I was like, the heck? And I heard parts of the soundtrack up to this point where I'm like, is that her? Is that not her? Did they actually get her back? And then this song plays, it's clearly Emmy Evans. And I'm like, they got her back. Thank goodness.
Got there.
So that was also, like, a personal thing for me, because I've talked about how the Nier Gestalt Replicant soundtrack is just so transformative for me and so inspiring for me, and that they actually have a worthy follow-up in this game really kind of sent it to the moon for me.
No, definitely.
And I will say this much. If I wasn't talking about this, I'd probably be talking about Hills of Radiant Wind. Oh my god, I just dyslexiated my speaking. Good go me. I'd be talking about the live version of Hills of Radiant Wind that they played at the Music Talk, which was one of the announcement concerts for Nier Automata. Which, of course, stars Emmy Evans, and that is, if nothing else, a celebration of the franchise's soundtrack in a way that this song doesn't even come close to.
Yeah, that checks out.
I hope we get a collaboration between these two minds again. I want to hear Monaka and Emmy come back together, because there is no more an iconic duo, an iconic pairing in all of video game music. Every time these two come together, it's magic. Every time.
Yeah.
Okay, and on the subject of copyright issues, let's talk about a song that also seems to have had some copyright issues, given our attempt to actually find a usable version for our playlist.
Yeah, I thought it was, the version I first slipped in worked fine for me, but not for you too, so
yeah.
You gotta fish for a correct one. That's the YouTube Shuffle.
That's the YouTube
Shuffle.
Shuffle.
I am talking about the final round version of DUOMO di SIRIO from Tekken 7. And I also have a bit of a personal relationship to this track, because it's the track I fight my Tekken buddy to.
Ooh.
We don't even go to other stages most of the time, because there's this stage with this track, and Kazumi main, by the way, she has tiger drops. As in, she literally drops a tiger on you.
Okay.
You respect that.
All right. I needed to take 3 steps back, because first you said Kasumi main, and I'm thinking Kasumi from DOA, and then you said Tiger Drop, and I'm like, the heck? Because that's a big Yakuza series counterattack. Now you're actually explaining it. Thank you.
It's a 1-2-3 punch.
It really was.
No, I was indeed talking about Kazumi Mishima.
Ah.
It does sound like a character made for Galen at this specific point in time in his life.
Eh?
Hey, look, if you wanna fight me with some good old Tekken,
I'm going to be honest.
I'll be right there.
I know I'm kind of on the periphery of fighting game franchises, but Tekken is one that's never gelled with me.
That checks out. In any case,
yes,
this song, it's very busy.
It's very busy, but that's kind of the staple of the composer. A composer that I called without knowing who it is. I'm like, these strings sound an awful lot like Go Shiina. These sweeps sound an awful lot like Go Shiina. And I actually had to ask, is this Go Shiina? And yeah, I got back the answer. So, yeah, this guy is a very idiosyncratic style. Very difficult for me to miss if I know what I'm listening for.
Yeah, and that he definitely isn't hiding some, this is hiding nothing. It's just...
Yeah.
Here's a box of sounds.
Yep. When it first opened, I'm like, well, this sounds Soul Calibur-esque. I guess my Rana picked it. And by the end of the song, I'm like, am I playing Tales of Legendia right now?
And, so
it
that's
doesn't
why
help.
I feel very...
The Soul Calibur comparison doesn't help that one of the videos I found on YouTube with this song had a background of a stage that really looks like it belongs in Soul Calibur.
Yeah, it's I believe it's an Italian cathedral
Yeah.
in the game, so that's definitely kind of a Soul Calibur-esque thing too.
They're the same. They're the same company, right? They're both Namco.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I'm like, I seem to recall Yoshimitsu was in both titles.
Yes, he indeed is. Although never quite the same appearance because it's basically Yoshimitsu used as a title.
Yes.
Yeah, like this feels like a celebration to me, even though it's not particularly one in game, just because it got this jubilant energy to it.
Yeah.
It's celebrating in kind of a hierarchic way, if you will. I really like it, and I really like it a lot, both by itself and because it's the track I fight my Tekken buddy to, and you gotta respect that.
I get it. I assume it's more fun and engaging than Final Destination No Items Fox Only.
Yes, it is.
The pain.
Now then, let's move on to some Konami blast from the past.
Oh, funny thing. We just talked about a song that had a personal meaning for Galen, one that had a personal meaning for Rana. This has a personal meaning for me. Because
first try, arranged it blind, got it in one. I'm amazing.
Yep.
Yes, I know. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Yep. So I've mentioned before many times that I'm not a JRPG guy. Well, guess what's my favorite game of all time?
Suikoden 2.
Is it a JRPG?
Yeah, it's Suikoden 2.
Yeah. I mean, that checks out because one of my favorite games was a bit of a horror game, even though that's definitely not my thing normally.
I suck at
something
stealth,
about
and yet I love
games
Hitman,
of
so, you know.
Yeah, there's something about games of genre you generally don't like, but that do their things so well that it's kind of getting you interested.
Yeah, I just binged the hell out of this game. When I first played it, I just wouldn't have anything else in my free time when I was a teenager. But yeah, it's actually a new take on a song from the first Suikoden, because it plays in a city called Gragminster in the game.
Okay.
Which is the capital city of the nation where the first Suikoden takes place in. And what happens in Suikoden, pretty much every game in the Suikoden franchise, is you have a war and the leadership of the country where the war happened changes. So
yeah,
when
that
you come
seems
back,
like a pretty good blood summary.
yeah, pretty much. It has some personal stuff alongside the war. The war is just there for show, pretty much. The actual core emotional is elsewhere, which is why I love Suikoden 2 so much. But yeah, so there's a point where you're looking for allies for your personal war in this entry, and you go back to the capital of the original game, and part of it is kind of a celebration of how that nation has been flourishing since they had their war in the previous game. And
which is such a nice payoff.
Yeah.
And you actually get to recruit the protagonist from the first game if you have the save game from the first game loaded into the second game, which is also
and
a really
it
cool
does
thing.
this weird thing where it doesn't carry over like his full name, but just the first letter and then the rest of his default name.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
So like if you named it Tim, he would be called Tikdal.
It's made worse by the fact that his canon name is Tyr McDowell. So if you name him Tyr to fit the canon name, in Suikoden 2 you end up with Tekdo in your roster, which is weird.
That is very weird. I feel like that was probably a programming error, like someone screwed that up and didn't have a chance to fix it.
Yeah, it's very likely.
Right, possible.
But yeah,
But yeah, no, Suikoden 2 is fantastic.
One day I'll replay that game, maybe. I never got very far in it because it was a rental for Blockbuster. I've talked about this before a number of times, but I enjoyed what I did play.
well, it's gonna get released on PC eventually, supposedly this year.
Sure.
We'll see what the port will be like, because it looks more like a port than an actual HD remaster. The changes aren't very big. Anyway,
We'll see.
a fun thing that I enjoy about the song is actually the title, because the theme for the city of Gragminster in Suikoden 1 is Beautiful Golden City. And in Suikoden 2, it's the even more glorious Beautiful Golden City.
I would have liked it if they kept one-upping the title every single game.
Oh yeah, like just for fan service, place Gragminster somewhere in the map of Suikoden 3 and give an even more absurd title.
No Gragminster in Suikoden 5, oh, but hey, at least there's George Prime.
Mm-hmm.
He's a cool character.
He is.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure whether I prefer the Suikoden 1 or Suikoden 2 version of the track, because the Suikoden 2 version does sometimes feel like it's a bit too much, but I do enjoy how much it sounds like it's a constant festival in the city, and that's a vibe.
It's really got that festival vibe to it, or at the very least that of a lovely marketplace with those clouds that are all nice and cheerful. It's a lovely little track.
And a nice love letter to the original game, if you have played both the original and then gone to the sequel.
You guys have been gushing a lot about this song, but I gotta be honest, I'm not feeling it. It's for one thing, the sound font really bothers me. Like, the sound font on this is actually not very good. And I know it's like Super Nintendo era, but I've heard Super Nintendo music work some miracles, and this one...
That's PlayStation era.
Oh, that's even worse.
That's
even worse.
That's Suikoden for you.
Oh, that actually, that actually, wow. All right, cool.
Yeah, no, like, Gothic Necklord is cool, but hearing it in the original game... I mean, we talked a bit about it, like...
You're right, we did.
In the pre-production part, but at the time, Konami released a lot of arrange album for its game, and a lot of companies released some arrange album for its game still, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that I know it had double the bitrate power, or not double the bitrate power, double the processing power, this sound font is even more inexcusable, because this is the cheapest, tinniest sound font I've heard since, like, early Super Nintendo, which is really saying something, because if Super Mario World sounds better than this, there's a problem.
Honestly, between Suikoden 1 and Suikoden, I'd say 4, up to Suikoden 4, it's an ongoing issue where the compositions are nice, but the sound almost sounds like it came from the previous generation of consoles every time.
Yeah.
Suikoden 1 and 2 both sound and look like SNES games with some
especially
3D...
Suikoden 1.
Yeah, especially Suikoden 1. They look like SNES, look and sound like SNES games, except with some 3D elements on the visuals in the combat.
Yeah.
And Suikoden 3 and 4...
The main differences are that and that they are very, very big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, insanely huge. And Suikoden 3 and 4 were released on the PS2, but they sound like they were released on the PS1.
And they, 3 in particular, had like 3 colors.
Pretty much. Suikoden 5 is the only one that actually sounds like it fits on the PS2.
Indeed.
And it's weird, because this is a Konami game, and we know that Konami does good work with music in the PS1 era. You know,
yeah.
Symphony of the Night, Metal Gear Solid 1.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, like, I don't think this is an internal Konami decision. I think the composer or the arranger or somebody just made the decision to use a very questionable sound font here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Rena mentioned, and we were discussing it out of recording. there's like a dozen arrangement albums
Yeah.
just for Suikoden 2 and 1, and I enjoy every single one of them more than the actual in-game soundtrack. And the
And
only
I
reason
definitely want to hear Gothic Neck Lord Funk.
speak for
What?
yourself on that one.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that statement you just said, but okay. I mean, it's a very random statement, let's be honest, but I still don't know what to make of it.
But yeah, the only reason I brought the actual original PlayStation, I almost said SNES there, the original PS1 version of the song is because the arrangement albums are just impossible to find if you're not in Japan. And they're not on YouTube either.
Not even on you. Oh, come on, universe, stop it.
Ironically, I found them once on a French website in the less than legal ways. And no, I don't have those albums.
Honestly, I mean, like, I understand it's less than legal, but this goes back to exactly what I was talking about in the amusement park segment. Like, preservation of art. If you gotta pirate it to get your hands on the music at all, then I think there's, as far as I'm concerned, an ethical exception to the rule. Like, you're trying to do it right, and it's just not happening.
Yes.
Yeah, I do agree that at least ethically it is.
Yeah.
It is valid.
Like, I would say that if you're pirating something you could easily listen to on Spotify, you're a jerk. If you're pirating something you're working hard to listen to and can't any other way, you're not at all.
Yeah, that's, I suppose in a way that's Konami for you. The Netflix show kind of made them remember that Castlevania is a thing. But outside of that...
Although that video games are a thing.
Yeah. They're gonna release a remaster of Metal Gear Solid 3 eventually.
I'm very nervous about that game. I guess we'll find out what that's gonna be, but I'm very nervous about that.
Yeah, but they don't treat their franchises very well, especially when it comes to releasing the soundtracks.
As long as Snake Eater's the same, because that song is brilliant, but anyway.
That appears to be the case, because it was in the trailer for sure, and it sure isn't a Snake Eater.
Okay, well, at least that's one checkbox for it. There's a whole lot more I'm worried about, but there's a checkbox for it.
I'm just reminded, like, this talk about Konami reminds me of a video that got recommended to me at random once. Which was two guys. One was, I think, a Hearthstone player, maybe Magic the Gathering player, and the other was a Yu-Gi-Oh player. And the idea was to have the non-Yu-Gi-Oh player try to judge how good the Yu-Gi-Oh cards were. And at some point, he talked about...
it's a whole genre of videos.
Yeah, and at some point, the other guy talks about a card, and he wonders if the game is still poorly balanced. And that's about the physical card game. And the Yu-Gi-Oh player goes, yeah, unfortunately, we still have to deal with Konami as a company. And that's a vibe for us.
That's a vibe for us.
Well, I feel like that mood has taken a bit of a turn, so instead, let's focus on positive thought. Let's be lively, people.
Let's be lively.
And also Festival of Stars?
And also Festival of Stars. Okay, so a little bit of background on this one. I was actually originally looking for Festival of Stars as my initial song. And I realized I was listening to it and I didn't really have all that much to say about it. It's extremely on the nose. It's a carnival song. It's a festival song. You know what you're getting.
Yeah, that is very much expected.
Yes. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really have much to say about this, but we finally have an actual available Blake Robinson version. And you may recall from the April Fool's episode, I was trying to find Glassy and I was looking for Blake Robinson's version of Memories of Greed, and instead I got the other Robinson, Malcolm Robinson's. But this time I actually found a Blake Robinson track from Chrono Trigger from the album, and I described that in detail there, but in short, he released 3 very, very, very good Chrono Trigger rearrangement albums. And I'm like, okay, well, sure. You know what? Let's look through my playlist. I'm sure I have something else. Oh, right. Here's a thing for the Festival and Trails of the Sky. Let's listen to this. And the notes are different, but realistically, it's the exact same song with the exact same vibe. And I'm like, someone's ripping someone else off here, and I'm not 100% sure, like, is this a ripoff? Because the notes are totally different, and the lead instrument's an accordion, not a flute. Also, shout out to an accordion sample that actually sounds like an accordion sample, and not a bad flute like the one from Super Mario Sunshine does. I still don't like that sample. I actually went back to listen to that to see if I was just crazy that day. No, that sample just sounds awful to me.
No, and that accordion is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty good accordion sample. And then I'm like, wait a second, but both of these songs, but then also Blake Robinson, and Blake Robinson's definitely worth celebrating. I love this guy. He's worked on games that suck, but he always is the best part about them. And for those who don't know what I mean by that, Blake Robinson is the lead composer for The Stanley Parable, which I hate with the passion of 1,000 Suns, and Portal Knights, a game I find very derivative. But the music's great in both of these, because it's Blake and he's great. So what I get from this is, there's kind of a sound for this sort of RPG festival that's just sort of permeated, and I feel like I kind of need to blame Yasunori Mitsuda, the original composer of Chrono Trigger, for this one, because I can't think of any, off the top of my head, I can't think of any examples before this, but if Let's Be Lively teaches us anything, it's that this methodology of, like, chill but fun, so you can still explore without it being overwhelming, has kind of become the standard for this in JRPGs.
Yeah, and chill was definitely in my notes for that track, compared to, say, the even more glorious, beautiful Golden City. It's definitely calmer.
Yeah.
And it's more about basking in a pleasant place than partying to exhaustion.
Yeah. Which I think is good. Now, this version of the Millennial Fair song, Festival of Stars, the Chrono Trigger one, happens during the ending sequence, a interactive ending where you could talk to a lot of the people you interacted with throughout the game, which is...
Yeah, and about that remix, I really like it.
Oh, yeah, no. I love Blake Robinson's soundtrack of this.
Yeah, and like the change of the very rhythm that's still so very recognizable but feels completely different. It feels less like the original's open festival, which, as you said, was an occasion to go around and look at all of the shiny things. And this one, it's more like you are in a place and there's the marching band that's parading right in front of you.
Yeah. Because there is a marching band parading right in front of you. Let's just be honest here. They're going around the race circuit.
Yeah, and in the calmer bit, it's the marching band parading in front of you, but they're trying to be very discreet. And there's a silencer on the trombone.
There is a silencer on the trombone. They actually call that a mute, not a silencer, but I know what you meant.
No, I meant an actual gun silencer.
Okay, you've got me thinking of the physics of attempting this, and I'm just like, that would sound awful.
Yes, it would.
Okay,
probably.
Great, good job. Thank you.
But visually, it's very funny.
It is very funny. Now, I want to talk about Blake Robinson here for a moment, because I have kept trying to find examples of this guy's work. I believe I brought up his Metroid remix album, his Super Metroid remix album, for once or twice before. Also very good. Now impossible to find because, hey, thanks Nintendo for revoking his license.
Thanks, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Worst part is I brought up recently that Super Metroid, I think was actually in our Dude episode. I brought up the Super Metroid arrangement by played by actual orchestra in Japan. That one remains my personal favorite take on Super Metroid music, but Blake Robinson was a very close second, and I cannot listen to that anymore. Thanks, Nintendo.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and admit this out loud. Just to get the consequences for it. I downloaded the album, and then I anonymously sent Blake $20 via PayPal. I'm happy to say I did that.
Yeah.
Because he deserves the sale, and I want to listen to this music, so I just went around and handled that.
Yeah.
this goes back to what I was saying with, like, ethically speaking, like, I want to pay for this music, guys, and you're not even letting me listen to it. What the hell, Nintendo?
Yeah, and it's not like a case of somebody deleting his work because he doesn't want it to be out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I've asked him about this. He does, or at least he used to. I don't know if he still does, but he does, like, Sunday streams of just random playlists where he hangs out and chats with everybody. On YouTube. I don't know if that's a thing he still does. I haven't checked in a couple of years, basically since the pandemic started. But, at the time, I asked him, like, I'd love to get my hands on this. Is there any way? And he's like, Nintendo, man. Sorry. I'm just like, oh. So, Eddie, I will say this much. If you want to listen to that album, I'm willing to help you out. Just please throw him a couple dollars if you can.
Let's say, for legal reasons, that we may or may not talk about that after the recording.
Fair enough. I'm willing to go out on a limb and be that asshole who's willing to preserve art as long as people get properly credited, and I think this is relevant, and I'm willing to get in trouble for that. I mean that.
Keep circulating the tapes.
Pretty much.
I'm just imagining you in an alleyway with a trench coat going, "You want a video game music CD, guy?"
I wouldn't give a CD. I'd give a flash drive. What century are you in?
Music Arcade the later years.
Yeah,
Hey, I've got this nice sound effect on a floppy.
Yeah.
God,
Anyway, going back to, once again, we're not talking about preservation of art this time. We are talking about what is available online, however, because I understand not wanting to release everything to YouTube and wanting to, promote sale of the album. The Chrono Trigger sale, the Chrono Trigger license is still ongoing, so you can just buy the Chrono Trigger albums, and I highly suggest anyone who wants to listen to these do so. I wish I could have gotten a version of World Revolution for his version of World Revolution, one of the final boss tracks for the Doot episode, because the trumpet samples of that are kind of amazing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I find that usually when people have like Blake Robinson calls it, a synthetic orchestra, where they're using samples, usually the trumpet sample is the first one that you can feel is awful.
Yeah.
But,
Yes.
With Blake
absolutely.
Robinson, everything sounds amazing. It almost sounds like a live performance sometimes.
Yeah, no, Blake is really good. During his streams, you'll sometimes see him live again, I'm talking about this as though it was 4 years ago. You'll sometimes see him live compose, and you can tell this guy has got a real ear for sample manipulation. Like, big thumbs up to this guy. I love this dude.
Yeah, and that is the Galen Firestone steel of quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I need to go back to following his work, because it's been some years since I last.
It's been a while for me too, and recently I've been reminded of him. I mean, not counting it showing up on my video game music playlist and just being great. The one thing I will say is that his normalization's a little off. Like, the final masters usually are a few dB less than, standard normalization, so his songs end up quieter in a general playlist than other releases, which is... This is a very, sound guy technical thing. It's annoying, but it's, not the end of the world.
If you're listening to it, it can be fixed by putting up the volume a couple of clicks.
Yes, just don't forget to turn it back down later. And it's not like professional bands don't have this exact same problem. Endless Form's Most Beautiful by Nightwish, my favorite band, has this exact same problem.
I remember that album, actually.
It's a really good album.
It is.
Yeah, it's just quieter. It's like minus 5 dB compared to standard normalization, which is weird. Okay, great. We've just got through the weird technical thing. Anyways, so I've made my points about this. Let's go from something chill to something the exact opposite of chill, maybe, because this is not chill.
Yes, this is not chill at all.
I love it.
Sometimes.
My first line on my notes for this next track is all caps, celebration, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Look, sometimes you are celebrating by hanging out with some friends and having a nice time and being cozy together. And sometimes the celebration is using your heavy industrial communist giant space vacuum to make part of your enemy base implode.
As you do every Wednesday.
As you do in Command & Conquer Red Alert 3 and in the track The Red Menace.
This was one of the songs I got trolled by during the April Fool. Not one of the songs, one of the soundtracks I got trolled by during the April Fool's episode. And, I gotta be honest, I really like the soundtrack. And I continue to say I really like the soundtrack. That's not new information.
It's a very good soundtrack.
It is.
This game has a lot going for it. And it's a shame that the license holders then decided to kill the entire franchise.
I mean, that's EA for you. What do you want?
Thank
Yeah,
EA.
but for the time being, let's focus on the celebration and not go on a tangent about how EA is the worst for once.
Right?
Because we've kind of been doing that for the last 4 tracks.
We really have. Let's actually talk about how good this is. I think that's a good point.
We've been very celebratory today.
What happens in the game for hearing the soundtrack? Like, the soundtrack I found, the playlist I found was a little bit disorganized and I wasn't sure. I wanted to hear, like, victory tracks and see how long they lasted. And then there were these ones, which reminded me that when you are using your faction's ultimate weapon, the nuke equivalent, essentially, you get not only big fireworks, but also change in music, because the music is very fluid, very responsive to your event in an actual fight. And that involves a super weapon 1-minute music theme that is all intensity all the time, because of course you just push the nuke button. That's gotta be accompanying something.
Well, it's not accompanying Gandhi for once, so yes, I will definitely take this.
I understood that
exactly.
reference.
I know it's an old joke, but I still love it.
It's still funny.
It's still funny.
I think Rex is actually played with that in Civ 5 on purpose for once. For Civ 6, I don't think it happened.
Oh, yeah, no, that's become the recurring theme with Sid Meier's, is that, like, ever since that meme started, they just made Gandhi nuke happy. That's just who he is now in Civland. And that's fine.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a nice little video game in-joke. I like
having
it.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, going back
Although
to
in this case, of course, because of the scenario, it cannot be a literal nuke, because what triggers the event of Red Alert 3 is the Prime Minister of Soviet Russia on the verge of defeat, using stolen time-traveling tech from the Allies to travel back in time, and just like they killed Hitler to kickstart the event of Red Alert, they did that killing Einstein to prevent the development of most of the Allied arsenal. And this went horribly wrong, because time shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's a game that takes itself very seriously.
Sure it does.
That was a lie.
That was very much a lie.
Yeah, but I really liked the work they did on the musical identities of the different factions, and industrial metal for those kind of Soviet factions works very well. The vocals are amazing. The guitars are about as heavy as you can without making your guitar entirely out of lead. L-E-A-D, not L-E-D. That's only for Zeppelins. Even though the Soviets do have the kit-offs.
This joke is going places that I can no longer follow.
That's why I ended it here.
Good.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat, and we have no captain.
Yes.
No, I have a lot of respect for Red Alert 3's creative side. I don't know how it played at all, but
it's actually pretty fun to play as well. Like, it finds a way to streamline some of the more micro-heavy parts of, say, a StarCraft 2, by having every unit have an ability, and all of those abilities, there's only one per unit, and it's on the same button, so you can micro between your unit stacks pretty effectively. And it's very rewarding that way.
Fair enough.
I will say my favorite part of Red Alert 3 still is, and forever will be, watching Tim Curry
The
spend a
only
minute.
place untainted by capitalism.
Yeah,
Space!
the best part will forever be watching Tim Curry spend a full minute breathing very hard, trying not to corpse on camera and failing as it delivers that line. But the soundtrack is a close second.
I've got to be
Yeah.
honest. That is actually one of Tim Curry's most iconic performances. We are talking about an incredibly iconic actor. The
Yeah.
fact that he was able to make Red Alert 3 work as well as it did, and the fact that he clearly had a great time and nailed every line read. And this is coming from a guy who never played the game, so I don't even have it in context. Man, I miss those days.
Watching him, J.K. Simmons, and George Takei in the bloopers is hilarious. And if you
Oh,
haven't done
yeah.
that yet, go look it up on YouTube. It's great.
I need to watch it again.
Indeed.
I have so much respect for it, and
Yeah.
I would
And
love
it's
to see.
crazy
yeah.
that this game was pushed heavily. I think there was even a promo a campaign with a surprising amount of David Hasselhoff as well.
That's on brand.
Exactly, and it went a bit under the radar when it actually released, but left a surprisingly important legacy between those memes and also the fact that Supergiant Games was the studio that worked on the expansions mini campaign.
Oh.
Ah,
Yeah, like
I didn't know
they
that.
did that, and after that they founded the company.
Ah. All right.
I
Right
guess
on.
they went, turns out we're very good at this. Let's make some of our own.
I can't wait
Yeah.
for Hades 2.
Neither can I.
Same. It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be good.
Gonna be
And it's gonna be
amazing.
quite a journey. Hey!
Ha.
So, since that's our segue, I want to start with a question. We're talking about Roboquest. Rana has played, he knows where this song plays in the game, but I want to ask Galen.
I
where
need
do
to
you
play it. I
think
have not
this
done
song
it yet.
plays?
I know
Where-
very
where
little about
do
this
you-
game.
Yeah, where do you think in the game this song plays?
I hate to say it, but I read the YouTube comments. It's a loading screen.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a loading screen, and it goes so hard for a loading
It
screen.
goes so hard for a loading screen.
My notes are literally, that track makes me glad you have to click to get out of the loading screen instead
Uh-huh.
of this happening automatically.
Uh-huh. I get it.
Yeah. And the loading screen itself is just your car in a tiny corner with a little scenery in the background, and it's cute.
And you can press the spacebar to jump, and if you do, you can jump, in fact, to the beat of the song.
Nice.
As you should.
As you should. As you should.
But yeah, I've mentioned this game soundtrack before. It's still in early access. It's amazing, very fun shooter, and even the loading
We
screen
still
goes
haven't
hard.
played together.
Yeah, now they actually support crossplay between Xbox or the PC Game Pass and Steam, so now we can.
Yeah, I mean, I was also ready to install the game on Game Pass, but...
How many players
yeah.
does this? 2 or 3?
I think it's 2.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
It's unfortunately...
If it was more than 2, I'd be like, this is finally the excuse I have to play this game. Let's go, guys. No.
I mean...
There are 4 playable characters. There's no reason why they couldn't add another slot.
Honestly,
unlike
the
it
answer to
doesn't
that is
need to be
networking is
all
hard.
3 of us.
The answer to that is multiplayer is very, very hard.
Honestly,
Yes, it is.
multiplayer between the 3 of us would be hell because 3 different continents in a
Oh, the
in
ping
fact,
would be wonderful. It would not be hell, it'd be hilarious.
we would shoot an enemy and see it die 5 seconds later.
And that's the fun part.
Omae mo shinderu.
Oh, I hate that I know what that meme means.
You should love that you know what that meme means.
Anyway,
Why?
even outside
Okay.
of this, where it's played, that track just has this chilling in a roofless car,
Yeah.
cruising along a line that is straight down to the horizon, and just chilling on your journey.
Yeah, it's got this, like, quasi-bloopy trumpet intro that just opens up to a really cool electronic track.
Yeah, to me, it's the sort of track I would play to have fun while having a meetup with friends. Like maybe play some board games or something. Put this song in the background. It's not quite dance party material.
Yeah.
It's a great fun song to keep the mood in a friend meetup. And
it's a wonderful road trip song.
Yeah. It's kind of opened my eyes to Noisecream, who are the persons responsible for the soundtrack. Couldn't find any info on them.
I still gotta listen to the entirety of the My Friend Pedro soundtrack, which is also by them.
I have two like actual technical takes on this song. The first is that the kick drum has a weird ducking thing going on, where the rest of the song kind of like lowers volume as the kick drum hits. It's very short, but very, if you know what to listen for, it's very present. And I've never liked that particular technique. If you're, I've always been of the opinion that if your kick drum doesn't fit in your mix, it's not a volume problem, it's an EQ problem.
That checks out.
So this kind of throws me off. I don't like the fact that when the kick drum hits, everything else gets quieter for the briefest of instants. And the kick drum kind of kicks a lot, especially given how percussion heavy the song is. So it creates kind of a weird mix. The other thing that gets me is that there's a bridge in here that gives me like 90s alternative vibes. Like it's the electronic version of an Everclear song.
Oh yeah, the bridge is definitely something.
Yeah. I like it. That's not a complaint. It's just sort of a... Yeah, like I actually really like the vibe on this song.
It feels very different though.
It does. And I think that's to its credit. Like it's willing to kind of do some. It's willing to kind of take a breath.
Different and not out of place, for instance.
That's fair.
Yeah. And generally, you don't listen to it, so maybe it's because it kind of is in this strange territory where the game is essentially asking you, why did you stay on that loading screen for so long? Is your computer okay?
We know the bus looks nice and the song is nice, but are you sure you don't want to play?
Don't you want to shoot robots?
I mean, I would like to shoot robots to this song. I hope that's an option somehow. Is there a jukebox function in this game?
I don't think there is, but you could turn the music off and play it on Spotify. It is on Spotify.
That's fair.
Yeah, although doing that would be a crime given how the rest of the soundtrack is also really, really good.
Oh yeah, I've mentioned before that the...
Less chill though.
It has... the soundtrack in general has as much energy as the Doom 2016 soundtrack, but it's far less oppressive. And this one actually gets me moving forward.
That makes sense.
Playing this without listening to the music as you go along is a bit of a disservice because it goes very, very well with the gameplay.
Roboquest is good, man.
It's a surprise gem for what I think is an indie game.
It is.
I don't think it's a AA.
On the subject of having a jukebox function, you know what franchise has a lot of jukebox functions throughout its games? The Dynasty Warriors series. This is one of the things I actually really like about it, is if I feel like listening to a song, I usually am allowed to.
Yeah, like generally when you load a stage in free play mode, you can, at least during the loading screen, say, wait, don't leave out yet. I wanna play this stage to this song.
Yes. I'm going to be honest here. I actually started this process looking for a different song. I thought at some point there was a remix of a song from Dynasty Warriors 3 that I wanted to bring up here, called Superior, which is like, you're winning the battle, let's play this fun song. The original version sounds very PS2, which is good. Like, it's not bad. And the remix from Dynasty Warriors 6 is actually bad. Like, this is not a good remix, and I'm like, everything fun about the song just went away, and I don't know what to do about this. And as I'm like mulling whether or not to talk about the Dynasty Warriors 3 version, I get this other song, Samurai Scanners, originally from Warriors Orochi 1. And I realize this is kind of a perfect song to talk about because it's doing something that none of these other songs do. It's celebrating that the crossover is happening at all.
Yeah. It is very much at the crossroads of these franchises.
Yeah.
It is, as far as I'm concerned, the Warriors Orochi sound.
It is the Warriors Orochi
sound. Not just
sound.
the mix of the two, but its own alchemy result.
Yeah.
And yes, I am using alchemy and not chemistry deliberately this time.
I figured after our conversation yesterday. For those who don't know,
Indeed.
Rana talked about the alchemy between two characters a couple of times, and I thought at first he was making a joke.
Yeah,
but second,
because that's how you say it in French.
right. But it turns out the word he was looking for was chemistry in English, so I gave a gentle correction because English is not his first language, clearly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm just thinking of the Fullmetal Alchemist meme now.
Oh, God. But yeah, no, this is the first example of the Warriors Orochi sound, which future games have actually built upon and has created a Warriors Orochi sound, which I think is really neat and cool.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
This song just goes for it.
And like, this is Warriors Orochi 3, in which the villain is literally existing because he doesn't want to be in this crossover anymore, and your job is to be like, no, wait, actually, let me gather all the characters because this is awesome.
Okay, so technically that's true, but this isn't a remix. This is the Warriors Orochi 1 version. This is just from the 3 soundtrack.
Oh, alright.
Yeah, no, this is the very first scene of Nobunaga playing the hero and rescuing Huang Zhong.
Ah, yes. Nobunaga. Classically depicted as a hero in the Warriors game.
I'm going to be honest, this was a really cool re-examination of his character and kind of made me love the samurai, the Nobunaga faction story of that game, of Warriors Orochi 1, a lot.
For those that do not know, in the Samurai Warriors series, Nobunaga's moveset and look is what I would consider somewhere closer to a Sith Lord.
Yeah, well, I mean, they play off his Demon King of Owari
yes,
titling.
Exactly. They are pretty literal about that.
Despite the fact that in character, other than Samurai Warriors 1, they actually tone down his worst aspects, and they actually have him come off more as a dark hero. In Samurai Warriors.
And then they released Samurai Warriors 5, which takes that to another level.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now he's the actual hero, but we see him also fall into the villain and become the Demon King, and I think that was a really, really great take. I have a lot of respect for Samurai Warriors 5.
It's the most they worked on character examination.
Basically, yes.
I respect that.
It's either that or Dynasty Warriors 7. Like, those two were the ones where the writing really mattered. But we're not talking about those games. We're talking about Warriors Orochi, and
We are.
Nobunaga the Dark Hero playing to this song works so well. It works surprisingly well. I'm like, it just tells you everything you need to know. Character alignments are on their heads, you're gonna hit the crossover of the characters, and the music is gonna bang.
Yeah. I wrote in my note that it is a very good theme to make you bash doors and modern mooks in a way that's about as gamey as you can get without NES chiptunes.
Yeah. They knew exactly what they were doing with this song, and I really kind of appreciate how immaculate it is in that way.
It is a celebration of the ability to mow down mooks by the thousands.
Which, if nothing else, what like, that's the whole point of the franchise. Celebrating it? Big thumbs up there. You're doing your big crossover. Let's have fun. I think this sends a really...
That's what crossovers ask for once.
Yeah. I think this sends a really, really positive message, and I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it exists. Weirdly, Warriors Orochi as a franchise has kind of evolved to the point where I kind of wish they'd get rid of the Samurai Dynasty Warriors characters and actually just have, you know, like Taigang Wang be the main character or something like that. Just the characters from the Mystic Realm. I think that would actually be kind of neat at this point. They've evolved to that point.
But do not call it Mystic Warriors because that already exists and that is fine.
Okay.
Oh no, that was Mystic Heroes actually.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that was basically Koei's attempt at Warriors game for kids.
What?
That doesn't sound fun.
I played the GameCube version, which is which has like a third of the content of the PS2 version as well. So that was even weirder.
Everything about what you just said is making me scratch my head.
Look into Mystic Heroes when you have time. This is an interesting rabbit hole, honestly.
I actually will do that. I guess my point is, if they made Warriors All-Stars, but with the actually following up Warriors Orochi instead of whatever the hell they were doing on Warriors All-Stars, that probably would have been a much better video game.
Yes. I'm still mad about Warriors All-Stars.
I am too. And the thing is, like, they managed to make...
How could they do a Warriors crossover game that has an Atelier representative and not make me like it to death?
Right? Although that did get me to try Atelier Sophie, even if that game ended up not being something I enjoyed.
Yep, and understandably so.
But it got me to try it because she was actually a lot of fun in that game. I wish the gameplay was.
That's also what crossover is for.
Yes! I've tried things because of crossovers, I'll admit that. I want to try a new Warriors game that's actually fun. That'd be nice. I never played Three Hopes. I just do not want to play another Warriors game on the Switch.
Oh no.
Like, that's literally just hardware at this point. Like, it's just between Age of Calamity, slowdown, and lack of enemies on screen, I'm like, what am I even doing here? This doesn't feel like a Dynasty Warriors game at all.
Yeah.
And that's strictly down to the hardware at this point. In short, please give us another real Warriors game of some kind, Koei. Please. Any day now.
Please.
Any day now. I don't even care what franchise it is at this point. Give me Samurai Warriors 6. Give me Dynasty Warriors 10. Give me Warriors Orochi 5. This time with a bunch more crossover characters because you can.
Yeah.
Give me that Fate Samurai Spirits game where they have Okita playing the Lubu role. Was it Okita or was it Musashi? It was the one that was the saber-like. I don't know which one that is. Give me that. I miss Mook's Dine.
I hope we get an announcement in that realm for the incoming Summer Games Fest.
That would be nice.
Any Koei news would be nice.
Any Koei news would be nice. But yeah, so long as Warriors Orochi was and continues to be a thing, it's worth celebrating. This song does a great job setting that tone, and I give this one a big thumbs up for that reason. And with that, let's move on to, I would argue, the weirdest song on this list.
Not just the thumb, but the whole hand. It is...
God.
I mean, when I thought of this theme of celebration, I thought one of the kind of songs that kind of had to fit in is credit songs. But a lot of them tend to be more contemplative, and that isn't celebratory enough for me. And then I remembered this one, which is the credit song to God Hand. And God Hand is a weird game.
It's a weird game.
It is an excellent game.
I need to play more of it. I played a demo of it, or something like that. I don't know if it was a demo of the game or just very briefly played it, but...
It is an incredibly tight combat system, and the ability to customize your combo is unparalleled.
This was by the Beautiful Joe team, question mark?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a Clover game.
Yeah, Clover.
Indeed.
Like, I keep getting them and Suda 5-1's people mixed up.
Ah, I see. Well, there's ones, yeah, the credit sequence is basically looking back at the game, and the song is also that. It's narrating essentially the game you play in the style of a very drunk, shameless karaoke night. And that's my idea of a celebration.
I do get it. I have a very different take about this song.
Go on.
This offends me, like, professionally.
Okay. That bad, huh?
Oh, yeah, no. Like, you have what, in my mind, was a 70s movie theme, right? Like a 70s movie outro? But with obvious parody vocals, and that bothers me so much. Because the best parodies don't do this. They don't go, hey, look at how funny our vocals are.
That would be implying this game has subtlety. It does not.
Neither does Weird Al, but he gets this right.
Fair enough.
To
be fair, a version without the vocals is also in the soundtrack.
I don't want to hear a version without the vocals. I
I
want to hear a version with the vocals mixed like they aren't a parody. That's it.
Yeah.
I want the vocals less present. I want them pulled back. I want this to feel more like a song that happens to be a parody, because that's when it's at its funniest. As it is now, they're like hammering in, hey, listen to these vocals. You're going to enjoy them. No, I'm bleeping not.
No, I am. I like the drunken karaoke feeling to it.
It bothers me. I get it, but
like,
it's like...
honestly, this is purely a question of point of view.
Yeah.
And we both play a series of games that have a lot of karaoke in them, and sometimes they feel the opposite. Like, what bothers me in some of them is how clean they are. And these are nice songs, but they aren't what I hear when I go and enjoy a karaoke with my friends when they manage to lower the defenses and not think only of the shame of their poor performance.
Whereas me, I'm a sound guy till the end, and I'm like, this is mixed like a joke, and I want to hear the joke actually be the joke and not the mixing.
Honestly, I'm just... The take of this being like a karaoke song just reminds me of Sleeping Dogs instead, which also has a karaoke minigame, and it doesn't sound like this. I don't like the vocals here either.
I see. Well, clearly you are better karaoke singers than I am, and we should settle that in some form of online karaoke. Actually singing one of those days.
Hell no.
Oh, no. No, we're doing
it. See,
it.
that's the problem. You are the problem.
We've just been challenged, Eddie. I'm not taking this sitting down. Why are you taking this sitting down?
Because my ESD
Because he has anxiety.
So do I, but I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is.
You be my legal representative in this fight.
At the very least, to put your mouth where your mouth is.
I guess that's fair. If my mouth was somewhere else, that would be weird. You see, that's the thing, though. I've never interpreted this as a karaoke song. I interpreted this as just an obvious parody track. Like, I hear this at the end of cartoon shows a lot, and I'm just like...
And all joking aside, that is a perfectly understandable point of view.
Yeah.
I respect your vision of it.
Yeah. Like, this is the kind
of... I still think you are coward.
I'm the one who said I would sing. Eddie's the one who didn't. Don't call me a coward when I've accepted the challenge.
I'm appointing Galen as my champion on this duel.
You appoint someone else. I got my own song to defend.
You're the what I can point at because you're on my screen right now.
Sam, are you in the audience? We need you.
Maybe you should just figure out if any of your window bikers could come by.
Oh, God.
They would work as champions given how much they are part of your sound universe.
So, people who listen to the edited version of our podcast might not realize, but there are so many bikers that go by my window that even Galen, who has a Harley Davidson, hates them.
I have to edit out so many motorcycles over the course of these recordings. It's funny.
Every time I mention that fact to someone, they just burst out into laughter that a guy who has a Harley Davidson hates bikers in my window.
I'm respectful when I ride. There's a difference.
Exactly.
Oh, I know.
Like,
I'm just saying, you've become a mainstay in my real life anecdotes right now.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but like, the only thing's worse than somebody hating something you like is somebody loving something you like in the wrong way.
Oh, God. That's
so you're a Fire Emblem fan, is what I'm hearing.
Okay,
the worst part is
move on to the next part of the episode. I think we've peaked already.
Nothing like a celebration with bickering.
Music Arcade now playing.
Well, I'm not playing Fire Emblem, that's for sure.
Is there a new one? Oh yeah, there was the new one.
There was, but I've already talked about the Xenologue, and I actually am not playing it right now because honestly I haven't been playing much of anything besides like the Genshin Impact TCG.
There's a TCG now.
Which doesn't... Yeah,
what now?
there's been for a few patches, and right now it's at the center of the main event. It's essentially an event that's a Yu-Gi-Oh episode as well, which is pretty fun. And but it doesn't have any musical bits to it, so isn't really relevant to that. So I have nothing to bring to the now playing section.
I have plenty. Eddie, you first though, because I got a lot to say.
Oh boy, I have a long list of things I don't have much to talk about, so let's go with the two that I have something to say. Destiny 2, I took a break at the end of the previous season, about a week and a half of.
You play Destiny 2?
Shocking.
Yeah, shocker. Yeah, I took about a week and a half off because I was getting burnt out due to, end of season stuff. It gets repetitive. But a new season's out, Season of the Deep, and I hope they release the music because it's not necessarily like stuff you listen to have fun, I would say. It's very much creating an ambience of being in the deep ocean. It is thalassophobia given sound, let's say.
Which is funny because now I have
Subnautica had a pretty good example of that too.
Now I have the music from technically from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but from Grand Prix World 2, the stage, Thalassophobia, which is an awesome song.
Ooh.
That's neat. Maybe next episode I might have a song from the season. I don't think Bungie has released anything. They don't usually release stuff for specific seasons, from what I understand. I haven't played Destiny for its entirety. I remember that last year for one of the seasons they did, for Season of Plunder. So maybe they'll do the same for this season and release those sort of deep sea ambience tracks.
Okay.
Those are neat. The ambience is really cool. But during that week and a half where I wasn't really playing Destiny, I was basically going back to games that I hadn't played very much in a while. Just dipping my toes into a bunch of different games. So,
it's nice.
Roboquest was one of them. That's why it was on my mind for today.
Fair.
Check it out.
I also touched a little bit on Grim Dawn again, which is still a fun ARPG dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
I tried out Last Epoch again. Last time I played Last Epoch was on patch 0.8, and we are currently on 0.9.1.
Okay.
Online multiplayer.
Getting closer.
Yep. Online multiplayer is up and running really well, surprisingly well for an indie title. The devs are saying they want to have a full release this year still, and I can see them getting close to that.
Wonderful.
Something that surprised me when I got to the online play is I wanted to try out to see if there would be too much delay or whatever. And like they have way more server options than even games like WoW. Because they had a lot of servers for Asia, Europe. I think there were one or two for Oceania. US, most games have two regions, US East and US West. Last Epoch has three, US East, Central, and West. They had a South America region with only 20 milliseconds of ping for me, which is...
That must be refreshing.
Yeah, that's kind of unheard of. Usually I get like 50 ping even on a Latin American server, because usually those are based either up north in Brazil or in Mexico.
Maybe the deep framing you heard at your Windows was actually the Last Epoch servers running.
Maybe. But yeah, it's even the US servers, the ping on them is much lower than I'm used to with online games. Because I used to play WoW on US servers back until 2018 or so was when I stopped. And I was used to playing with like 160 milliseconds of delay. The US Central server for Last Epoch has 120 of delay for me. So it's
Nice.
less delayed than WoW, and it's an indie title. I was very pleasantly surprised.
Right on.
But
Good
yeah.
server tech is good no matter your budget.
Correct.
Oh yeah, and they also revamped the first chapter of the game, which also includes new music. But it's neat, but nothing to write home about, to be honest.
I'll have to consider playing that game again to likely when Diablo 4 releases, just to be my rebel.
Honestly, I kind of expect there to be like a sort of competition between, I'd say, 4 big ARPG dungeon crawlers, and I think those 4 will be Diablo 4, Path of Exile, especially once version 2 comes out, Last Epoch, and Grim Dawn. For me, those 4 are kind of top tier dungeon crawling ARPGs.
Yeah.
And each one kind of appeals to a slightly different playstyle.
Yeah, they all bring their own flavor and their own ideas.
Remember when Death
and
Spank
their own
existed?
music too.
What was that?
Remember when Death Spank existed, or whatever that was called?
Yes, I do. That is indeed called Death Spank.
I thought so. But I also, there's a good chance I'm wrong, because this was just very silly.
No, that game was very silly.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think I know what that is.
You would like it. You would like
It is
it.
a parody Diablo-like. Yeah.
Basically, it's a Diablo parody done right. It's got a lot of, Castle Crasher style humor in it.
Huh. That does sound interesting. But yeah, I'll just do a quick rundown of the other 2 games I've been playing a little bit. On occasion, I've been touching Army of Ruin, though not as much as Galen, to be honest.
I was going to talk about that during my segment. Yeah, I'm going for, the super hard achievements right now, and I've actually almost finished them.
Yeah, I was checking my Steam library and saw something like yesterday, Galen achieved 6 achievements and then see more, and all of those achievements were glowing gold because less than 10% of players have them.
I only have 5 achievements left to go in the entire current build of the game.
Good lord.
I've been busy.
A lot of achievements.
Yeah, and I don't know why this one resonates with me so much. I've been pretty, critical of it as a whole, but I just love playing it.
I can see why. I find its combat to be very satisfying.
It is.
Maybe the most satisfying combat, specifically combat, in these bullet heaven / vampire survivors
Yeah, I really like the weapon system, the weapon selection of this game. There's a lot going on, and it just puts a smile on my face. It's not about DPS; it's about fun factor.
Oh yeah.
And I like that I'm actually good enough at the game to look at the challenges and go, well, this is what I need to do. I kind of hate that as well. Because, again, it is basically just a derivative Vampire Survivors clone with a World of Warcraft paint style and way above average music, but somehow they managed to click it together into something really neat and fun, despite being, again, extremely derivative. I'm going to call a spade here, but they ripped off something really good, and it turns out that is, in fact, really good.
Yeah,
They got the right combination of elements.
Yeah, sometimes being derivative is just a good starting point to something great. And I
also, on a technical level, it's got a great UI. It's very comfortable to play, works very well on controller. I never had any jank, so...
The performance is also surprisingly good for the graphics and
it's
the amount
very stable.
Yeah, the amount of particle effect you get, the game still runs very stable.
I think I've only rarely had slowdown problems.
I don't think I've had slowdowns in a few patches now.
I can't really remember the last time I did, but I'm also, good at the game, so the enemies don't really find a way on screen very often. I hate that I'm good at the game. I kind of hate it. Why is this the game that I got hooked on somehow?
Oh boy.
Anyway, so I shared that one with you. That was going to be one of my statements as well. Please continue.
I just, the last 2 games in my list, played a little bit of Against the Storm, not as much this time. Still a fun game.
Yeah.
I think I might wait for the full release before I jump back in. I'm not sure.
And at least wait for the release of the cycles changes, which should be next patch because they joined experimental, so count a couple weeks.
Yeah, there's some big changes incoming, and it seems like, much like last Epoch, it's a game that the final version might come out sooner than later, because it seems like most of the features are already there. And
They have posted their pre-release roadmap and said, yep, we checked that, and basically they could have released it if they stuck to the roadmap, but instead decided to add a little bit of extra space.
Yeah, and
Can't say I complain about that.
Listen to player feedback. A lot of the recent patch notes, if you look at them, more than half of the patch notes have a little icon indicating that this was a community feedback suggestion. So that's really cool of them.
That's what early access is for.
Or at least should be for. Not every dev does that, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And the final game for me was after Mortal Kombat 1 got announced, they got a sale on all NRS games for a little bit. So I bought Mortal Kombat 11. I waited for the sale because I know I won't play PvP. I don't play fighting games in PvP. My anxiety hates that. But the story mode was pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to playing some more of the single player modes. The soundtrack during fighting is about as meh as I already knew it would be, but the story mode has some cool moments with the music. It is very cinematic though, not very memorable.
That it is.
That's it for me. Long list, but most of those games are just things I've dipped my toes for a couple days.
Okay, then Galen, take us away.
Well, I was going to talk about Army of Ruin, but Eddie beat me to the punch, so we got that out of the way already. And the other game, well, there's two things I want to say. One, I've been out of town for a lot of the period between the two episodes, so I haven't had a chance to play a whole lot. One thing I did get to do, and I'm going to just sort of shoehorn this in because Michael Stana is in, Metal Hellsinger, and they just released an expansion. I know I haven't played it, but we're going to talk about that singer. His band, The Halo Effect, which I talked about on this stream in regards to Metal Hellsinger, they actually did a brief East Coast tour. So I flew to New York and took a job in New York for a few days to pay for said trip, and I got to see The Halo Effect live.
Lovely.
I never thought this would happen. They're a obscure Swedish supergroup, but they're amazing. This was a birthday present to myself, and it was worth every bit of annoyance and every penny I spent on the trip. It was...
Twitch yourself.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any metalheads in the audience, but if you're into melodic death metal, especially the Gothenburg sound, this is a supergroup with the best of them, and it sounds amazing.
I do like the idea of an obscure supergroup. Sounds like a paradox, but in the metal world, that's how it is.
It really is. This isn't me being a hipster or being like, I saw them. No, this is me going like, if you like anything resembling the sound, if you like Dark Tranquillity, you like In Flames, go listen to this. Anyway, as to actual video games, a new patch dropped in Final Fantasy XIV. And the music is really, really good.
Wonderful. I haven't mentioned it in my part because I haven't resubbed yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then
which is why I haven't enjoyed the tracks by myself yet.
Well, I apologize for spoiling you on some things.
I already knew what was the final boss of the raid tier because I saw some streams still.
Okay, great. So we're going to start with the Aether Font, the new dungeon. It's got a remix of specifically the Charlian theme, which is itself a retake on Flow. I like this song a lot.
Because, as we've established, third of soundtrack for Endwalker is 2 songs.
Yeah, Soken likes his leitmotifs. This has not changed.
Indeed. That isn't an exaggeration, by the way. We calculated that.
Yes. I I like this song. I really like this dungeon. I'm angry at its existence.
Huh.
And I will tell you why.
I imagine because it's in Elpis.
No, it's not an Elpis at all.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah,
Never
no.
mind.
I would have actually really liked an Elpis dungeon. That would have been cool. That would have been interesting. No, this is an island off of Charlian, which you just gain Aether from. That's it. It's a complete and utter filler dungeon. It's a filler dungeon.
I see.
And that's what makes me angry. I'm like, this should have been an optional dungeon back in the days when those were a thing. This should have been optional. Yeah. We had two different major opportunities for actual dungeons in the Sex Pack. We could have had an Elpis dungeon, but more importantly, we could have had a Red Moon dungeon.
Yeah.
We didn't get that. We got the Aether font. The Aether font is really pretty. I like it. I'm glad it's here. We got robbed of yet another Moon dungeon. I am getting so annoyed by this. How cool would it have been to have, like, FF9 Pandemonium as a dungeon going into the Golbez fight? How cool would that have been?
Sorry, you will have Smile Tone and that's it.
That's it. I am so salty of how dirty they've done the Moon. I was so looking forward to that area. I still love that area every time I get a chance to go to it. But they have the Loporrits, they have the Moon Buddies, and that's all they're ever going to do on the Moon. I am so annoyed at that.
Hey, look. With the recent Dragon Dogma 2 trailer, it's the season to be angry at people underexploiting the Moon.
I don't know what that means, but that sounds wild.
It was supposed to be a playable part of Dragon's Dogma, before they downscaled drastically.
Cry.
Huh. I wonder how that would have worked.
Apparently the lore is pretty wild.
Fair enough. On the subject of the Golbez fight, we got the Golbez fight. This one has another remix of Battle with the Four Fiends, this one also combining with the FF4 main theme. I like this a lot better than Rubicante's theme. I did not like Rubicante's music very much at all. But as remixes of Battle with the Four Fiends goes, this one is very good. I'm looking forward to getting this.
It is suitable for a Golbez fight.
It is suitable for a Golbez fight. And in fact, in about 3 hours, I'm going to be rematching Golbez EX, and hopefully I have a ninja who doesn't decide to run away with a stack marker and get himself killed.
That would be nice.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was like, they have pair stacking, and I was stacked with my pair, and then my pair stack just decided to Shikuchi away and just take the stack on his own and squish. And I'm just like, we were safe. What are you doing, man?
That sounds about right for Dungeoneering on an MMO.
Kind of. I called him out in the battle. I'm like, why did you do that? I normally don't do that. I'm usually very chill, but this was egregious.
At this point, you should know what a double stack marker is.
Yeah. Yeah, the marker was on him, not me. I probably could have taken it. I'm a tank. I could have mitigated and probably been fine.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, rematching the EX on that. I want the EX weapon. I'd love this kitty. I'd love this Lynx that drops the that gives me the music when I play it. This would be a good one to have.
Love.
And finally we have
Also, that's funny. I just realized that we said that Endwalker soundtrack was 3 kinds of things, and we have a perfect spread with those 3 tracks you picked. We have one remix of one of the 2 songs of Endwalker. We have one remix of an older expansion or game song, and now we have a full original. Although it is a remix, but from the same tier, so it still counts as an original.
Not just the same tier, it actually gets all of Pandemonium in there. Like, there's parts of Ancient Shackles, and there's parts of Scream. God, I love Athena's music. What's weird is, here's my take on Athena's music, and this is not an indictment against it at all. It is probably my least favorite since Mobius of the raid final bosses, specifically the Phase 1 raid final bosses. But that's only because it's up against Heartless, one of my favorite songs of the entire game, which is Omega Phase 1, and Promises to Keep, which is Eden 12 Phase 1, which is amazing.
And also, I was tempted to put Rise for this episode.
Oh, that would have been a good one, and I would have had conversations about that one, but that's to me a Phase 2. That goes into the same category as From the Heavens and The Extreme, and apparently Ultima's Perfection in this one. We're getting a remix of of Ultima it's like literally Ultima's Perfection Endwalker is the orchestrato, and I'm just like, they mention Ultima the High Seraph in the lore, I assume if you've completed Ormond Monastery.
Yes.
And I'm just like, well, this is a weird thing to come back to. I'm cool with this.
I'm down.
And they have a version of Ultima's Perfection. The regular version of Ultima's Perfection composed by Hitoshi Sakimoto is present in Ormond Monastery when you fight Ultima the High Seraph.
I respect a lot the fact that this raid tier seems to have wanted, after doing a bit of its own thing, to tie a lot of loose ends from ARR.
Yeah, it's tying together loose ends from ARR and Stormblood, which I'm actually a big thumbs up on.
Of course.
Now, here's the thing. Now, remember how I said it's one of my least favorite final raid bosses?
It's still very good?
It's my favorite vocal lead song at all since Return to Oblivion.
All right.
Yeah. And I guess that just sort
Return to Oblivion is very good.
It's very good, and I would rate this just below that. Like, just barely inches below that. Like, it's very close.
I praise.
Yeah, no,
I praise indeed.
This is a great song. I like this song a lot. It's just not as good as better songs. So when I say
I deliberately haven't listened to it in detail because I want to enjoy it when I actually resub and catch up on
I totally understand that. I will just say this much. I do want to talk about it a little bit, so if you want to just mute me, go for it.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
It's an electronic mix of several of the tracks that have appeared through Pandemonium, culminating it very well. It's got the great vocal section. The chorus is awesome. Like, this thing just drives the fight. I'm going to look forward to wiping a lot on P12S. Like, to this song. This does the exact opposite of what Ancient Shackles was. Ancient Shackles was a mistake of a song. I'm increasingly convinced of that. Because between Scream and this song, the melody is fine. It's just how it was presented in Ancient Shackles. That song just sounds like a dirge. This sounds like exactly what we needed to end the tier on. And the only reason it's in the middle of the pack, above Answers and Mobius, but below Promises to Keep and Heartless, is because Promises to Keep and Heartless are just that good.
As we've established in a previous podcast, we do like when things end nicely and have a good payoff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have to admit that as a non-player, I didn't understand about 2/3 of what you just said, but your enthusiasm has told me, and I really want to listen to it now.
If you want a catch-up session, that would be with pleasure.
Yeah, we could run you through FF14 music just so you enjoy the music a little more. I'm happy to sit down with you and do that.
Preferably strapped to a seat with some way to keep your eyelids open for some reason.
Okay, I'm not Ludoviking the guy.
Good lord.
It's only music anyway, that wouldn't do much. But it's tradition.
Is it? Is the Ludovico method the tradition? Because I'm not really down for a little bit of the old ultraviolence. I gotta be honest with you.
And
whatever you want of that itch.
And people talk about the Destiny community being weird.
This is not a community thing. This is just random being weird, and I'm commenting on that.
Yes. Correct.
No, this is... Now, Sam actually called this a medley. I don't think it's a medley. It definitely uses elements from those prior songs, but it does them in a totally new way. In fact, we specifically compared this to the End Singer's music, which is quickly becoming like just the albatross of the entire Endwalker soundtrack. And this doesn't do that. In a weird way, this actually brings the topic back around, because I don't think it's undeserved to call Athena's boss music a celebration of Pandemonium.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense as a conclusion, given how he talked about it.
Yes. So, big thumbs up there. This song is great. I'm glad this tier ended strongly, especially given how awfully it started. Because I could live without ever hearing P1 through 4 ever again. Those songs are just not my jam. And that's it. That's all I got.
Alright. Well, here's to 50 more episodes.
Here's to 50 more. It's not like we're ever going to run out of video game music to talk about.
And then 50 more
they
after that.
They produce it faster when we can talk about it.
May they keep
There
going
is a
that
composer. There is a composer right now writing a track that we're going to love a few months from now.
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to
And that's beautiful.
Yeah, that is. That really is. You know, art is wonderful, music is wonderful, and I'm glad we get a chance to talk about it and share that with our audience. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the celebratory episode. We'll be here again in the next couple of weeks for another one, and for weeks and weeks after that. Thank you, Rana. Thank you, Eddie, for being part of 50 episodes of this journey.
I wouldn't enjoy this time as much if it wasn't without you two. If it was without you two, I wouldn't enjoy it. Triple negatives, am I right?
English is hard.
Or am I not anti-wrong?
I'm still doing the mental arithmetic.
Okay, well, Eddie's blue screen,
let's
I think...
hope by next episode we'll have Eddie debugged and ready to go.
He needs a Control-Alt-Delete. And for now, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. As always, you can find the songs we talked about in the links in the description below, for as long as Square Enix lets them stay up, I guess.
I like the idea that they are somehow going to also take down music that isn't related to them at all, just for the kicks.
At this point, would you even put it past them?
Honestly, no.
Exactly. Thank you guys, and we will see you all next episode. Have a good one, everybody.
See ya.
Why do I smell my brain burning?
It's probably nothing.